Hi everyone, I'm Liz and welcome back to Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Liz and I am here to give you the weekly craft report on everything that I have been making over, well, the last couple of weeks because I didn't publish a video last week. My husband and I were out of town in South Bend, Indiana, visiting family and friends. And I had like the best of intentions to film in our hotel room last weekend and edit, but we were just fully booked like all day long, every day with different friends and family events and things, and I never made it happen. So I decided I'll just give you the 2-week update today. And I have a lot of things to share with you guys. I'll give you some updates about the trip maybe at the end of the video. I have got a finished object. I have got a new start. I've got some cross stitch. I've got a knitting halfway fail, halfway win that we'll talk about, and some fun haul and some P.O. box stuff. And I've got like the full range of things. Also, I've got like a pop culture thing. Maybe I'll talk about at the end if I remember. I feel I've got notes, but you know, I feel a little scattered because I haven't filmed in a couple of weeks, but yeah, I hope everybody had a good end to the summer. I think today or yesterday was the official start of fall, which does not mean much here in Texas. It is still hot as hell. Although I did see that this upcoming week, the highs are mid-80s. So maybe we're going to start getting fall here and stay out of the 90s for a while. We'll see what happens. It was 100 degrees yesterday and I was in the pool knitting because I did see that the rest of the week is going to be in the 80s. And even though that's hot, I think for most places, I don't really like to get in the pool unless it's at least in the 90s because otherwise I get chilly. But yeah, anyways, let's jump right into it because I have a big finish to share with you guys and it's what I have on. I'll do a little dance because I am so happy with how this turned out. This is like my new favorite thing I've ever knit, and yeah, let's get into it. I finished my Lakes Striped Tee by Ozetta. I finished this late Friday night, got it blocked on Saturday, and I am now wearing it and I'm obsessed with it. I knit this with Madeline Tosh Twist Merino Light and a Seismic Fibers, I believe, butter sock yarn. I will have my Ravelry page linked below with all of the yarn details, but basically I knit this with fingering weight yarn on a size US 3 needle, which is one size smaller than called for, just so I could get gauge. And I am just really, really happy with how the fabric of the sweater turned out. I'm really happy with the size. It did block a little bit bigger than I expected, but it is all superwash merino, which everybody says grows a ton. But I think I find that my DK superwash merino sweaters never grow as much as people warn you they will, but I do feel like the fingering weight one did grow a bit. I think I probably have about 4 to 6 inches of positive ease, and I was expecting about 2 to 4 inches based on my gauge and my gauge swatch, but that's okay. I'm totally, totally happy with the fit. In the last video, I did share that I was kind of having a conundrum about the length of the sweater and if I was going to do another full stripe repeat. I did. I went ahead and made it longer, and it only ended up about an inch longer than maybe I would have, you know, had my ideal length be, but I'm so much happier that I did the longer length rather than cutting it short. Because it really is just like the perfect throw on, comfy, like perfect length sweater. I have some video, of course, of me wearing it and some photos that I'll put in for you. Let's see, this is a brand new construction for me with these kind of horizontal saddle shoulders, and Ozetta features this style in a lot of her patterns that are labeled the Lakes patterns. She has like a pullover, like different weights of Lakes pullovers. maybe a cardigan. There's a few different patterns, but this is the striped tee fingering weight version. And it's super cool. It's saddle shoulder, but also drop shoulder because you pick up from here to knit the rest of your sleeves. I'm really happy. The sleeves did grow in length, I think, quite a bit. I might have a video of me pre-blocking and then, you know, you can see it post-blocking. So I'm really glad I stopped the sleeves where I did. I did knit them slightly shorter than the pattern because any longer and they would have been like right into my elbow, which I think would have been annoying, but I think this length they turned out is perfect. What else do I want to say about this? I feel like I've been talking about it nonstop for the past few videos, so I've probably given you guys all the details. Oh, actually, one thing I will say. So I knit the size 5 in the pattern, which I think is like the extra large size, and it called for, I think, 3 skeins of like 300 grams of the main color and 200 grams of the accent color. And I will show you, I only needed 200 grams of the main color, and I didn't even use a full 100 grams of the accent color. So on the one hand, that's great. I've got a full other skein of this yarn to use for something, but I'm a little bit annoyed because I saw in the pattern that I was going to need 200 grams, and I specifically bought this yarn for this project because I have tons of 100 gram, like, you know, 1 skein quantities, and I could have found something in my stash to stripe with this pink, but I didn't have 2 skein quantities, so that's why I bought something specific, and then it turned out I didn't even need it. So I love a project that uses less yarn than you think, like rather than something that needs more yarn than you think. But I do wish I had just used something in my stash instead of buying something new, because now I've got a whole extra skein of yarn that, you know, of course, it's just like a nice neutral color. I'll find something to do with it, but I could have used something in stash. So I would just say when you're looking at yardage for this, if you're knitting a size 5 or smaller, you only need 1 skein of your accent. And I added length to the body. I did shorten the sleeves a tiny bit, but I added length to the body. So you only need 1 skein of contrast. So that's amazing. What else do I want to say? I think I knit everything else to pattern. I did the twisted rib, which is not my favorite, but these are only 1 1/4 inch bandings. So, you know, I can deal with twisted rib. The stripe pipe sweater that I've knit before needs like a full 3.5 inches of twisted rib, and that's painful, but it wasn't too bad to get the twisted rib done on this, since it's just kind of like a little small detail. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I started this at Flock, I think August 10th is when I started this, and I finished it on Friday, September 20th. So it took me about a month and a half, of course, while I was working on other projects. So I would say it was a relatively quick knit, but it was fingering weight yarn on size 3 needle. So it is a bit of a commitment, you know, time-wise, but I don't know, it was fun to knit. I love stripes. Stripes keep me interested, and I never really felt like it was a slog until I got like to where I thought I was ending the body and then realized I needed to do a few more inches to make it longer. And then I was like, like, let me just be done. So the first half of our trip to Indiana last week was just spent finishing up that body. And then I got one of the sleeves done while we were on our trip, and then I finished the other sleeve once we got home. So yeah, that is my finished Lakes Stripe Tee by Ozetta. Next up, I want to talk about my one cross-stitch project that I've worked on in the last couple of weeks. I pulled out and worked on my Garden Sampler by Carriage House Samplings. This is kind of been the only cross-stitch project that's been calling my name over the last couple of months. I have worked on some other things here and there, started some new things, but I actually hadn't cross-stitched on anything since I went to Flock Fiber Festival in August. So it'd been like 5 or 6 weeks since I cross-stitched, and last night I was like, I want to stitch. Why have I not been cross-stitching? I know the answer is because I've been too obsessive with my knitting, but I needed to like break myself out of my knitting focus last night, and I've really been missing working on this cross-stitch piece. So I got it back out and I made some progress. I stitched about 500 stitches on it last night and this morning. And here is what it's looking like. Make sure it's all on camera there. Yeah, I'm using my little vloggy camera because I forgot to charge my big camera. So I'm not used to this little screen and trying to make sure everything's in there for you. But yeah, oh gosh, am I gonna remember all of my details? I already know I've forgotten what fabric I'm stitching it on. I'll put that on the screen. I feel like I need a t-shirt that says Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. I'll put it on the screen. Why am I making myself laugh? It wasn't that funny, but every time I'm editing and I hear myself say it, I'm like, because then I've got to go look up what it is and add a little text bubble, which is not that hard, but it just, you know, lengthens my editing process. So I'm like, Elizabeth, remember what you're using and you wouldn't have to edit so much, but whatever. I do know that I am using the Roxy floss conversion for this pattern. It was created by Hannah at Evertote, and if you would like the full floss list, you can email hannah@evertote.ca and she will hook you up. So yeah, I was able to buy all of these flosses in person when I went to the Stitch North retreat, which is hosted by Evertote and Roxy Floss Co. And yeah, I started this at StitchCon in June, and it's been pretty much the main thing I've been stitching on all summer. And I did kind of have like a loose goal to have it fully stitched by the end of summer, which was yesterday. So, okay, it didn't get done, but I'm over 70% complete now, and I do want to just keep this out and about and keep stitching on it every week until I get it done, because I think it's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I know I'm stitching this on 36 count with 1 strand and the floss conversion. And yeah, I kind of can't wait to get it done because I really want to frame this and get it on my wall. This will be like one that I will have up year round. Even though I feel like it looks a little bit springy summery, this is one that I will leave up all year round. So yeah, that is my garden sampler. Okay, now we'll move back into knitting, and we're going to start with a new start that I had the other night. So Friday night when I finished knitting this and went and laid it out to block, I was like, what do I want to knit on? And the answer should have been like one of my 8 whips that are, you know, languishing while I was finishing this. But instead, I decided to swatch for something new because I have just been dying to use to finally use and cast on some yarn I got at Flock. And it's this yarn. The top, this is Truffula Cashmere by Treehouse Knits, and the bottom is her sock yarn. I'm forgetting the name of it. It's the 90% superwash merino and 10% nylon sock with the Truffula Cashmere. And I have never done a fingering and mohair type sweater. Or like a fingering weight and a lace weight. This is not mohair. This is a lace weight cashmere. And I knew I wanted to hold these two together for a project. I also realized when I got home from Flock that I might have bought slightly less of this lace weight than I needed. For like maybe a more typical DK weight type sweater. So I knew I wanted to knit with this yarn at a looser gauge. And I eyeballed quite a few patterns, including a new pattern called the California sweater by my friend Knit California. I'll put it up on the screen. It is really, it's a really great sweater pattern. It really doesn't use much yardage. The only thing was I was currently working on a drop shoulder and I wanted to do something with a slightly different silhouette up top. I like drop shoulders, but I wanted a more fitted yoke, I thought, for this. We'll see if that ends up being what I like in the end, but I wanted a slightly different pattern. So what I ended up deciding to knit was the Cognac sweater by, I'm forgetting the name. It's a new to me designer. I'll put all the details on the screen. And so I did a swatch on Friday night. I was able to get gauge with the recommended needle size, and I even got row gauge, which is crazy for me. My row gauge is never right, ever. When I say right, I just mean it never matches what the pattern calls for. I always have a longer row gauge, but this time I hit stitch gauge and row gauge perfectly, and so I immediately cast on. And this sweater is gonna knit so freaking fast because this is 1 day of knitting. I mean, one very heavy day of knitting, but one day of knitting. I don't even think the fuzziness will really come through in the video, but I am kind of calling this my Muppet sweater because it feels like just soft and beautiful and fuzzy and Muppety, to be honest. And I put this on a big needle so I could stretch it out and kind of show you the shape. It is a contiguous set-in sleeve construction, so you can see I am shaping the sleeve caps as I work the bodice. So you kind of use some raglan increases down the sleeves to widen them. And so it's like kind of a raglan, kind of a set-in sleeve, but it fits like really smoothly up top where the increases in the majority of the fabric is like on the sleeve. So I think it'll fit kind of closer fitting here with like a more tailored looking sleeve. That's the goal. Obviously, I put the pictures up on the screen. You can see what the finished sweater is going to look like. And there are a couple of different neckline and hem options. There's an I-cord version and a ribbing version. And I really like the way the I-cord version looks. But since I'm going so fuzzy Muppety, I feel like having it be more sweatshirt style with like the crew neck ribbing, I think that's what's going to look best. So obviously I'll make that decision when I get to the end of the knitting, but I think I'm going to do the ribbed details. I wasn't even sure if I was going to point this out. I did make a mistake on this sweater and I'm trying to decide. That's a lie. I've decided that I'm not going to fix my mistake. And just saying that out loud is like, is that really the decision I've made? Because I am a person who, when I've made a mistake in a craft project, I go back and fix it. Even if it's like not a big deal or I don't think people would notice, I usually go back and fix my mistakes because they just bug me. But I can't figure out a good way to fix this mistake without doing some significant unknitting. And I think I've decided that nobody's going to really notice, even though I'm going to point it out to you guys. But like in real life, when I wear this, I don't think people will notice. But I think I'm also going to tell you guys because that way, if somebody has a good recommendation for how I can fix this, maybe I'll go back and fix it. But for now, I've decided to keep knitting. But basically what happened is it over here? Yeah. So I have my stitch markers for my sleeve. And so you can see I picked up my sleeve stitches and then you're increasing on the ends of the sleeve to, widen the sleeve to fit over your arm. And basically you do that by increasing next to each stitch marker. And what happened was that my stitch marker on this sleeve somehow migrated. I don't know how, but it somehow got out of place by a few stitches, and it means that I made some increases. Oh, it's right here. Let me see if I can show you this on camera. Basically, I made some increases in the wrong spot. You can probably see them right here. They should be over here, and they're over here. So I would have to rip back about 5 rows to correct that. And my struggle is that this is 2 strands, a sock yarn and a fuzzy yarn. So trying to, insert a needle, like a lifeline, to pick up the row before I made the mistake seems unwieldy to me. Like it seems like it would be a really hard thing to get accurate and right, and that I might drop stitches or miss strands, and I feel like it might result in a mess, and it might result in me like frogging way more than I want to. The other option would literally be to unpick stitch by stitch, but that would be for 5 rounds of knitting. And I'm just not going to unpick 5 rounds of knitting stitch by stitch, which would be the safest way to do it. Anyways, so that's why I'm not unpicking this. Also because I feel like now that I've pointed it out, you can probably see exactly where that mistake is over here. But I think if I just keep going and knit it back to pattern, I don't think anyone's ever really going to notice. Like basically the number of stitches are right. I did my 2 increases where like on the sleeve, they're just in the wrong spot on the sleeve. Okay, I feel like I've talked about this too much. If anyone has any brilliant ideas for how to fix this problem without ripping back 5 rows, let me know. Or if there's a good video I should watch. But for now, I'm going to keep going and hope that nobody notices that right here, there's a couple of increases out of place. That's the plan. Okay, what else do I have to say about this? I am using the recommended size 10 needles, which I'm going to be honest, it's not my absolute fave to knit on needles that are bigger than like a size 8 because, I don't know, I just like holding smaller needles. That's what I'm used to. That's what I like knitting with. So, it's not a big deal. It's not like, you know, they're size 13s or something huge, but it's going so fast, like so fast. Like this is 1 day of knitting. I kind of feel like this sweater could be done in 2 or 3 weeks, even while working on other projects. So I'm very excited about this project. Oh, I also put it on these big needles so I could kind of try it on, although I don't know if I need to, but I'll put it on. I don't want to lose any of my stitches, but you can kind of see my little purple Muppety sweater. This is also a new color for me. I have that colorwork sweater in purple that I'll show you in a minute, but yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I feel like it's a fun color. Okay, that was my Cognac sweater. Real quick, let's just go into the pop culture because I keep playing with my hair and every time I do, I'm thinking about this dumb show that I just watched that I feel like a lot of us just watched, which was The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives on Hulu. And so today I attempted the, I don't know, Mormon, Utah, whatever curls where it's like curled but then flat on the ends. And I don't think I did a great job, especially this side. Like these are like corkscrews. This is... I also don't have the like full-on extensions like all those girls have, but anyways, I binge watched the show while we were out of town. It's terrible. It's great. I'm here for all the memes, and now I'm trying to do my hair like I'm a 25-year-old mother of 4 who lives in Utah. Okay, anyways, that was my pop culture moment. Leave me the dance emoji in my comments if you are also binge watching the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and loving it / are not sure why you're watching it. I should preface all this by saying I'm not like somebody who watches like Real Housewives or those kind of shows. And I have a feeling that like people who love Real Housewives, this is probably right up their alley. So they know why they're watching it. Me though, I'm like, how did I get here? But also I can't stop watching. Okay. All right, next up, let's talk about the other purple sweater that I have been knitting on. And it is my Alpine Bloom sweater by Caitlin Hunter. And it looks like this. I think I've only knit about 3 or 4 rows since you saw it last, so it doesn't look that different. But, you know, I made a few rows of progress, so I thought I'd show it. I did bring this with me on my trip to Indiana, very optimistically thinking I would have this done so fast. And then when I was like alone in the hotel room at night, I would want to knit some complicated color work. And to be honest, it never came out of my suitcase. I also did not just have, like, I did not have much downtime by myself like I thought I would in the hotel. Like, usually Rob goes and hangs out with his friends. I do my thing at the hotel, but this trip we had a lot more like group activities and things that he wanted me to come to, which was totally fine. Like, obviously I love hanging out with my husband, but that hasn't been the norm on the past trip. So anyways, I did not have as much crafting time as I wanted. So when I got home, I definitely worked a few rows of this, but each row is just getting so huge. I have about 9 rounds left before I can split for sleeves and I'm done with the color work. So we're getting there. It's just those last like 9 rows are going to take forever. Like each row takes like at least a half hour to 45 minutes now. So, but you know, I am still having fun working on this. I am very much looking forward to being done with the color work because I feel like the rest of the sweater is going to fly comparatively because it's just solid purple. I'm also pretty excited because I think I mentioned I was unsure about the green, and I got so many lovely comments, and everybody loves the green. I'm less stressed about it now that so many people are reassuring me. And also, I feel like I'm going to get some light blue in there soon, which I think will be fun. I'm just realizing as I'm saying this out loud, I think I said all the same things about this last time, but that's okay. I'm very excited about where this one is going. I am knitting this on the called for needles. I am using the spin cycle that's called for, and I'm using Sincere Sheep Cormo Sport as my main color in the color Sakura. And the only modification I made was adding a twisted rib collar instead of the lace collar that was called for. So I think that's where I'll leave that sweater since there wasn't a ton of progress these past couple of weeks. And let's move on to the last two knitting projects I have. I'm pretty sure that this sock was done in the last video. This is the... Why can I not remember the name? I'm gonna get it, 1 second. This is from the Summerlee sock set Hello Sailor, and the pattern is called Scattered Pearls. I did it. I did it! And I am using a Hedgehog Fibers sock yarn in the color Mulberry, and I have finished one of the socks that I am making for my sister Allison. And I went ahead and got the second sock started for our trip to Indiana, and I only knit on it a little tiny bit. You can see I got the ribbing done on the cuff, and I have just started, I think maybe I've done like 1.5 pattern repeats into the leg. So yeah, I am knitting this on US size 1.5 needles. I am doing the 64 stitch size, and yeah, I absolutely love it. My sister Allison would love it if I would stop sweater knitting and focus on her socks because she wants these, but it's still 90 degrees here. She's not going to wear them yet. I still have a little bit of time. So anyways, these are going to be kind of like my primary sock knitting over the next few weeks until I have them done. And yeah, still carrying this project around in like my favorite sock bag ever that I got from Black Pearl Magic at Flock. I've just been having so much fun with all my Flock purchases, and I have really been wanting to film a fall knitting plans because I feel like I've gotten so many like sweater quantity type, you know, skeins of yarn recently, and I have a lot of plans for them. And today is fall. Today is fall. Today's like the first full day of fall, so I feel like I should probably make that video this week. We'll see. Hopefully I have time. Work has been absolutely bonkers. But you know, I gotta find time to film all these videos and make plans and do all my crafts because that's what's bringing me the most joy lately. So anyways, I'm just pep talking myself to like get in the mood to film some more videos. Let's do it. That's my socks. I'm gonna put them away, and then let's talk about the last project. Okay, the last thing that I worked on our trip over the past 2 weeks is a hat, my Musselburgh hat by Ozetta Teague. I am knitting this hat with Ruby and Roses, their cashmere sock base, and it's the color Into the Woods from her Taylor Swift collection. And I just think this color is so pretty and so cool. And I was originally just gonna make a pair of socks with it, but then I decided I wanted a Musselburgh hat for myself after I made my husband one last year and loved making it, and he loved how much it fit. It fit me great, and I was like, well, I want my own. So yeah, here is where my hat is at. Oh, I'm dropping stitches already. 1 second. Okay, let me hold the needle tip so I don't drop all my stitches. So here is where we're at, and I will show you the progress. Basically, this little pink stitch marker here is where I was at before my trip. And so you can see I made several inches of progress. This was just perfect for sitting around anywhere knitting in the round. Like no increases, no decreases, no pattern, just knit, knit, knit. So I was able to make a lot of progress. I am knitting my hat with size 2 needles, US size 2. And I'm following the pattern exactly. I use the Knitty Natty pinhole, like crochet pinhole cast on tutorial for mine. and I am planning on making this a double fold version. So pretty soon here, I'll probably take this off the needles and try it on. And then once I have a good length, I'll knit like 3 more inches or 2 more inches, so I have like a fold up brim. And then once I have like the halfway point, I'll mark it, and then I'll knit the other half to match this half exactly. I think I'm saying that the right way. I also need to keep weighing my yarn to make sure I have enough to do the full folded brim I want, but I think I've only used about 1/4 of my yarn so far, and I feel like I'm more than 1/4 of the way into this hat, so I think we're all gonna be all good, but I will weigh it once I like try this on and kind of get to the halfway point. And if for some reason I'm gonna run out of yarn, I'll use like a contrast color or just scraps, to be honest. Maybe that's a good use for my leftover Lakes Tea yarn. And yeah, so if I need anything extra, I'll use that, and then that'll be on the inside layer that won't be seen. But I think I will have enough yarn to get this hat completely done. I am making myself the adult medium size, and I think I'm getting 7.5 stitches per inch. I think that's, I'd have to remeasure, but I'm pretty sure that's the size I'm following. This is a really great hat pattern, and if you want to make like a thinner but like lined warm beanie, I highly recommend this Musselburgh Hat pattern. The trickiest part is the cast on, and honestly, watch the Nitty Natty video for the crochet pinhole. It worked great for me and makes the starting the hat less daunting than it might seem. I think that's all I have to say about the Musselburgh hat. Okay, I have one last knitting project that I want to talk about, and it was a finish from a couple of months ago. My Cumulus Tee by Petite Knit. Trying to think about how I want to start this, because I kind of made a mistake with it. But also I'm kind of happy with what I did, but I think I want to fix something. I have thoughts. Let's talk about it. If I hold it up, you might be able to tell it has shrunk. It's shrunk in length. It is now a full crop top, and that is because I washed it and dried it in my washer and dryer. I had read online that this yarn washed and dried really well, and I wanted to test that. And I knew it was a little bit risky putting it in my washer and dryer, but I did wash it on gentle, cold water, gentle, and I washed it inside a garment bag. So, you know, the little like mesh garment bags that you can wash underwear and bras in so they don't like tangle, or, you know, basically for delicates. So I bought some of those garment bags, and I zipped my sweater into one, and I washed it on cold, gentle, and I dried it on no heat or low heat, whatever the lowest heat setting is, again, in the garment bag. And we did have some shrinkage. So in one way, it worked really great. The width actually did shrink a little bit. I think I talked about the fact that I felt like the raglan was a little bit deep and it was a little bit wide, and it did come in about 1 inch or 2 in width, and the top like yoke portion fits really, really well now. But the length shrank by like almost 2 inches. And it is now fully above my belly button, fully a crop top. I have maybe 1 pair of pants that come up high enough for me to wear this, but if I raise my arms, I'm still showing my stomach. So it's really too short to wear right now, which is a big bummer, because now that the fabric has been washed, it is so soft and comfortable feeling that I'm obsessed. I love the way this turned out washed and dried. So like on the one hand, I'm really happy I did it, because I now know that like I want to knit more garments with Knitting for Olive cotton merino. I should have started with that. I knit this out of Knitting for Olive cotton merino held single fingering weight yarn, the Cumulus Tee by Petite Knit. I think I said that. And I love the way this fabric feels. I am definitely knitting more things out of this yarn, but I wish I had knitted a bit longer and had known that it was going to shrink this much. Oops. But I mean, you know, I probably shouldn't have put it in the washer and dryer. That's on me, but I had heard that people did that. I'm saying a lot of the same things over and over again. So here's what I'm thinking about though. I have a little bit of yarn left over. I have 17 grams of my Knitting for Olive cotton merino left. So my original thought was literally just to cut off the bottom I-cord, pick up, knit as much length as I could with this, and rebind off. With only having 17 grams though, I'm wondering if that's the best option. I'm wondering if I should try and do sweater surgery where I pick up right above the hem and then a row right above that and cut out, you know, the between row, and then knit from the body and then graft the hem back on. Should that be the move? Or should I do that, like pick up from the body, pick up the hem, set the hem aside, and then see how much length I can get out of my extra yarn before deciding if I have to do the whole process of grafting the hem back on, or if I have enough yarn to just knit, you know, 2 extra inches and then make the I-cord hem again. Because I really might have enough yarn. This is fingering weight. This yardage is a lot. So I do think I might have enough to get 2 inches plus a hem, which would make this back to wearable. Of course, then I'd have to wash it again. I'm going to lose a little bit of length. So I really probably need at least 3 inches. Yeah, I probably need to be able to knit 3 inches. So I think I might have to reuse this hem if I can figure out how to pick everything upright, knit, and then graft the hem back on. I think there's like plenty of videos out there that show that process. It's not something I've ever done before. I've like cut off a hem and picked up and like knit again, but I'm just worried about the amount of yarn I have. I don't think I have an extra ball. I think this was the 6th ball of yarn. I'm looking at my yarn cabinet to make sure. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure this is all of the cotton merino I have left in this color. So yeah, I do want to do sweater surgery, and I want to start this soon and not put it off because this shirt is so comfy. I want to be wearing it. It's just too short to wear right now. So anyways, if anybody has any brilliant ideas or suggestions before I get started, let me know. But yeah, if I have to, honestly, I might just buy another ball. I'm just worried about the dye lot, you know, but I don't know. I could just buy another ball of this and hope that it's, you know, close enough. But anyways, I'm going to get started with what I have, and I'm going to hope I can eke 3 inches out of this ball. I'm just realizing I might be able to tell with my knots, like where my ends are woven in, how much length I was able to get in the body with 1 ball of yarn. Let's see if I can find my ends. Okay, am I a magician? How did I weave all my ends in so that I can't see them? Oh no, here are some ends. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so it looks like, so here's an end and here's an end. So it looks like I was able to get about 6 inches of body length out of 1 50-gram skein. So 17 is less than half. So so maybe I won't be able to get 3 inches, but maybe close. Maybe I can get close to 3 inches out of this. Interesting. Okay. I don't know. I'm going to play around with this. If anybody has any brilliant ideas or tips for me before I get started, I would love to hear about them in the comments. But yeah, that's my Cumulus tee and my issue, but I'm okay with it. And I love this fabric, and I will be knitting with more Knitting for Olive cotton merino. That's the summary of this segment. Okay, those are all the projects that I've worked on over the last couple of weeks. Let's talk about my trip a little bit. While I was in Indiana, in South Bend, last year I had found this yarn store in Plymouth, Indiana called Blueberry Yarn Cottage, and I absolutely loved it, and I knew I wanted to go back. And so one of my friends, Stephanie, who is the owner of LindyStitches.com, runs a very popular floss tube channel that I'm sure you all watch. Her most recent video with her husband where they were wrapping up their stash fest was so funny. I made Rob watch with me like the opening segment where he's telling that like duck joke, because I was like, Rob, this is who I went to have lunch with in Plymouth. And he was like, oh my God, he was cracking up. And I was like, this is why I want you to film with me. Like this can be us. And he won't do it, but anyway, Steph, Jason, I'm working on him because I feel like you guys have so much fun on those videos and I want him to come film with me sometimes. Anyways, Stephanie, who is, if you know her, you know her. She's amazing. She and I went and had lunch at this cute little cafe in Plymouth and sat there for a couple of hours just chatting nonstop about videos and crafting and friends and just like hanging out. It's like the first time we've gotten to just like hang out and chat for a long time, because the only other time I've ever gotten to chat with her is at market, where she is not only selling her designs, but trying to buy for her online shop. So she's a busy lady at market, and it was really great to just sit and chill with her. And then I got to run over to the yarn store. Oh wait, before I move on, she did bring me a lovely little gift to lunch, which is a set of pony black needles, which I of course have heard about, but I have never tried. So these are size 28, which is perfect because she knows I'm a 36 and 40 count stitcher. And then she also brought me a teeny tiny hot pink pair of scissors that I'm obsessed with. Like, look how little those are. So thank you, Steph. It was so great to hang out with you. So anyways, then I ran over to the yarn store and I got a few things. And one thing I got, they had a little section of cross stitch, but I guess we're deciding to phase that out. So they had all of their cross stitch stuff on half off, including Weeks Dye Works. And I basically just went through the little turnstile and picked out some popular colors that I know I use all the time. And I got a bunch of threads for half off. So that's what I got. You can see I got a bunch of the popular greens, the yellow, the curry. I love curry. And then this purple I just thought was pretty, and the orange. But basically I just grabbed some common colors because half off, why not? And then I went through the yarn, and I was actually a really good girl, and I stuck to the clearance table and I got myself a sweater's quantity of clearance yarn. I found these two shades of 220 superwash fingering on their clearance table. And this is a yarn I was not familiar with and had never really felt before, and it's amazing. It feels so like plush and bouncy and soft. It's just a 100% superwash merino wool, fingering weight, and I think it's the 220 yards for 50 grams. I think these are, yeah, these are 50 gram skeins. And I got 5 of each color in this lovely burnt orange and cream shade. So not really sure what I will make with them yet, but, you know, if you know me, I live in Austin. The University of Texas Longhorns are a big deal here. And I feel like this is kind of a fun fall football, burnt orange and white type situation. So I've got to find the right pattern for this. I'm thinking, of course, I can hold these double to make a DK weight if I want, but yeah, I've got 10 skeins of this fingering weight, so I got to find something fun to do with it. So that was kind of everything I got up to in Indiana. I was thinking I might go over to House of Stitches in LaPorte, but my mother-in-law, she was like, I don't really need anything. She does mostly online shopping, and she didn't really want to make the trip out to LaPorte, so I kind of decided, I don't really need anything that bad. So I did skip the cross-stitch shopping last week. So that was kind of all the haul from the trip. And then when I got home, I did have a very fun package waiting for me that I'll show you real quick. I bought myself an advent calendar, a knitting, a yarn mini skein advent calendar. And I wasn't sure if I was going to buy one this year because I haven't finished knitting / crocheting with the advent calendar I bought last year. I am working on that Battenberg blanket, which is a crochet blanket with last year's Ruby and Roses yarn advent. And, you know, I'm like 10 days through my 24-day advent, so it's not no progress, but, you know, I haven't finished it. So I was kind of trying to talk myself out of getting an advent this year, but I follow Moonglow Yarn on Instagram. And she does something really cool with her advent, which is that she shows it to you before you buy it. So it's not a mystery, which, you know, could take some fun out of it for some people. But for me, I was really into it. And it's a full rainbow and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I was able to see it and I knew exactly what I was buying. And she does them in stock. So like when she posts them, they're ready to ship. So, I bought her advent, and I can put a picture up on the screen. It's gorgeous. You can kind of see what it looks like. I think they're all sold out now. It was an in-stock update, but I'm really excited about it. They are individually wrapped, so even though I know like what it's going to look like, they are individually wrapped in this really nice tote bag, and I still will open them up every day in December, and it'll be very exciting and very fun to see the rainbow build. And I don't know what I'm gonna do with this advent yet, but I have some ideas. I have been loosely planning a kind of mini skein pattern video because I have so many mini skeins now and I want to figure out some patterns to use them in. And since the thing I like knitting and crocheting the most are garments, I want to focus on garment patterns that could use mini skeins because, you know, I need some ideas. I need to use my mini skeins. So anyways, that's like on my to-do list. Okay, I think that's everything I have to talk about this week. Yeah, I hope to be back on my schedule of every week for a little while. We'll see how it goes. Let's see, our next little trip we're taking is in October. We're going to a Dallas Cowboys football game on, I think, Sunday, October 13th. I don't know, whatever the Detroit Lions game is. So, you know, that week maybe a little bit off, we'll see, but I think I'm mostly home for the next few months. So I'm really hoping I can find some time to do some more fun, like planning videos, vlogs. I need to pack up this room because we are kind of house hunting. There's still a lot to do. I don't think we're moving anytime soon, but I'm doing some house hunting. So I need to be doing a lot of organizing, and I have a tutorial for a bag I want to film. I have a quilt tutorial I want to make. I've got so many ideas and never enough time, but those are all the things that are percolating. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave you for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.